Welcome to a new edition of Shailesh Bhai ke Saath Khaas Baat. This is the show where we discuss ideas and talk about what the real need of the economy is and how the economy can come back on the track. Shailesh Bhai, welcome back and thank you for joining us.
Delighted to be here, Nikunj.
So Shailesh Bhai, the economy right now is, some would say that खराब दिन खत्म हो गए हैं मगर अच्छे दिन आए नहीं हैं, which is the worst is behind us and the best is yet to come. What is your understanding of the economy, demand, and the consumer?
Well, I continue to remain wildly optimistic, particularly because the room for moonshots, कि जिसको हम कहते हैं कि बॉल पार्क से बाहर चला जाए, ऐसे moonshots के लिए बहुत जगह बन गई है, क्योंकि डिजिटल वर्ल्ड में there is nobody who is not eligible to do the big hit. And so I will talk today about 10 moonshots, which will lead India to more than 10% growth, because I know that is possible.
So according to you, what are the two things which need to be done, which can be done with ease, which can be done, which does not require too much of policy changes, and there is going to be a participation at the corporate level and also at the social level if these changes are made? What are the low-hanging fruits which can be plucked?
I love your constraints सर आँखों पर, और मैं कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं बोलूँगा ये पॉलिसी होगी तो no. Today what can we do? We can convert 100,000 villages of India into smart villages. This is feasible, this is possible, this is crying out to be done. We have the entire enabling infrastructure. We've got free markets, we've got access to internet, we've got a returned migrant labor which is wanting to resettle in that part of India. We've got a whole lot of universal basic income and universal basic service type efforts which are beginning to bear fruit. Digitization is happening. Microfinance is being poured into the villages at a rate that is extremely happening. And therefore, there's no reason why we cannot think of 100,000 smart villages. What this will do is it will create a ripple effect. और हर जगह, हर गांव में हरियाली आ सकती है, क्योंकि क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट एग्रीकल्चर हम करने के लिए अब तैयार हो गए हैं. And I believe very strongly that if you do multi-cropping, if you set your sights on getting exotic crops planted between mainline crops, and you do a whole lot of engineering and technology embracing, which today our villages are ready to go for, we can have these 100,000 smart villages. So that's my first moonshot. No policy change is required, just mindset change required. My second moonshot is to convert 10,000 of our MSMEs into what I like to call exponential organizations. So how do you do it? I'll give a very simple formula. Let each one of them embrace what I like to call a massively transformative purpose. And what do? They build on making staff available on demand, drawing from the community, sourcing from the crowd, getting feedback, creating algorithms which will drive data streams, which will automate their product development, completely implement cloud-based and open source machine and deep learning insights to really take on the world. Leveraged assets, no investment in assets. I'm not saying that they must get heavy on assets. What they need to do is to use SAS, use cloud computing, use GitHub, use incubators like Y Combinator, Techstars, get into all these available spaces, create engagement. absolutely delightfully engage with all economic interests, design interfaces, create dashboards, become experimental, gain and keep your autonomy, and make sure that the social technologies that you have learned become real. Today, it is easy for the 10,000 top MSMEs to embrace IoT, sensors, robotics, brain-computer interface, augmented reality, virtual reality. All the big boys in the world want to do this. तो हम क्यों पीछे रह जाए? सब लोग ये करने को तैयार है, देने को तैयार है और भाड़े पे देने को तैयार है. तो हम लोगों को ये एम्ब्रेस करके इतनी तेजी से आगे बढ़ना चाहिए कि दुनिया देखती रह जाए. मैं समझता हूं कि अगर 10,000 एमएसएमई इस तरह से रीइग्नाइट हो गए तो हमें कोई नहीं रोक सकता.
But some would argue, Mr. Haribhakti, that India में skill है, talent है, but we lack innovation. Let's look at IT sector. Nothing in products so far. Our exports are plummeting. We've lost market share even in a basic industry like textile to Bangladesh and to Vietnam. So isn't that a big challenge now?
Brilliant question, Nikunj. आप मानेंगे नहीं, लेकिन जो डेटा हमारा है वो इतना खराब है कि इसको मसल के उसको ठीक करने में मशीन इंटेलिजेंस लग जाती है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस लग जाती है. जैसे मैं एक कंपनी का चेयरमैन हूं which is into data-led lending, monitoring, and recovery. And we have now been able to cover 18 lakh companies. Every one of the companies in India we have mapped. So we know the relationship between a holding and a subsidiary and a company which has common directors, and we've mapped the entire space. We want to go further into LLPs and all the rest. But it is a hard uphill climb. The good news is that everybody is now requiring data to be put up into registers. And this is all being done digitally. तो उस पे हम अपनी जो मशीन लर्निंग कैपेबिलिटी है उसको लगा सकते हैं और उसके कोरिलेशन कर सकते हैं और उससे स्कोर बना सकते हैं कि जिससे अर्ली वार्निंग सिग्नल्स भी आ सके, मॉनिटरिंग भी हो सके और डेटा क्लीनली अवेलेबल हो पाए लोगों को. This will change the whole character of people wanting to comply, because people will soon get the message. Every court, what is being filed is now available in a public register. This has been a big change in India. Everything that is happening, even at the village level, is now digitally recorded. The ROC's records are digital. Now, when you bring the correlations between all of this, you start seeing a completely new picture emerging. All the startups that I'm dealing with today are entirely platform-led, data-led, SaaS-driven, cloud computing-driven, very low infrastructure-driven, because that's the way that they can make their progress. So this old mindset of being commodity service providers has to be discarded. Our new India has to be based on complete innovation, complete platform-based, as you rightly pointed out, properties. And this is now feasible. Why? Two reasons. One is that education has become quite well available. The second thing is that learning programming has become inessential. It is valuable, it's useful, it's good for the youngest of the young, but it is not essential, because all the software that you need to rejig data is available in algorithms which have already been established. All you need to do is to be able to set the parameters. And if you can set the generative design parameters, then you can apply algorithms which will lead you to your outcomes. And I see this as the next phase of big innovation.
So the government needs money, they have assets, but they are unable to sell. Whether it's BPCL, या IDBI बैंक हो, या फिर LIC का IPO हो. Where is the disinvestment process headed?
No, I am a great believer in the power of transformation. You know, there are what are called the ESG statements: environmental responsibility, social character, and great governance. Now, if you want to be that, even as a government, then it is incumbent upon every government to have the highest quality of governance in every PSU. And in order to make that happen, to my mind, it is essential that the government must give up its majority stakes in almost all enterprises. Because when the value of the equity is with the people of India, then you are not doing very much different from what you're trying to do today. Today, the only access that you have made available to the public in India is debt related. Why not make democratized equity holding the big frontal position of this government? It will, of course, change the whole revenue picture. It will release so much productivity. Fallow assets will start becoming productive. And there is no doubt in my mind that if this program is time sensitive, we have always lost the bus because we have not been quite cognizant of the time that elapses and destroys value. It doesn't matter if you get 5-10% lower today. It is not relevant. The important thing is that the assets must pass into hands that can govern in a stupendous way the resources of the community. So if the entire economy adopts the 17 SDGs of the United Nations, and if the government of India starts reporting its budget on the 6 capitals of integrated reporting, we will start seeing transformational change. And I think the time for that to happen has arrived. And I believe that this government has the power and has shown the boldness through the recent reform that it has done in labor and agriculture to actually take this step and go forward. I would like to see in the next 6 months a massive program of disinvestment happening.
So what are the other moonshots? Some moonshots ki baat kar rahe hain. It's a very powerful word. What are the other moonshots that India needs to do so that right now when others are suffering, we can emerge stronger and bigger?
तो मैं 2 उदाहरण लूंगा. एक तो एग्रीकल्चर में 50% का ग्रोथ हो सकता है, वो मैं पहला उदाहरण दूंगा. क्योंकि फूड जो है हमारे यहाँ वो सरप्लस बन सकता है. पिछले 3-4 महीने में we have been able to export food because we have surplus. The problem with India is that we have not adopted vertical agriculture. We have not adopted climate resilient agriculture supported totally by systems of water supply, drip irrigation, all of the technology which is known. These are all possible. Collaborations from across the world will come our way to make this happen. We can automate harvesting. We can make sure that every grain is preserved in silos, not a single grain wasted. And then you talk about multi-cropping. जो मैंने देखा है, जब मैं विलेज में गया था तब मैंने देखा कि मल्टी क्रॉपिंग से जो फायदा होता है, एक्सोटिक क्रॉप्स ग्रो कर सकते हो. इसकी मार्केट इतनी बढ़िया है कि आप जो आज का जो क्रॉप है उसमें एक और क्रॉप विदाउट एनी मोर एफर्ट यू कैन गेट. और ये फार्मर्स ने मुझे कहा है कि हमको सिर्फ परमिशन चाहिए कि हम अपना प्रोडक्शन 50% से बढ़ा दें. एफपीओ का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन चुका है, एपीएमसी का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन चुका है. एग्रीकल्चर इज ऑन अ एब्सोल्यूट टेक ऑफ स्टेज. 50% ग्रोथ हो सकता है. दूसरा, सर्विसेज इंडस्ट्री को देख लीजिए, जो आप कह रहे हैं कि 60% ऑफ आवर इकोनॉमी. आप 3D प्रिंटेड हाउसिंग की बात ले लीजिए. मेक्सिको में $10,000 में घर बन जाता है 2 दिन में. 2 दिन में कैसे बनता है? सीमेंट नहीं, लेकिन जो रेडी मिक्स होता है वो पोर हो जाता है मोल्डेड डिजाइन से. There's a huge machine which goes and creates a whole colony of these homes. And they are printing these homes to the design of individual customers at the rate of a home in 2 days. And the people who actually see their home come up in front of them are completely stunned. And imagine $10,000 cost for a home. It is fully affordable. And I think if we can bring this technology to India, and we can, there is nothing to stop us. There is a major 3D printing uh, company called Icon, which has these printing capabilities. There are people who are in generative design. You bring them together and you build homes to scale. There are 100 million homes to be built at $10,000 each. Just imagine what we can accomplish if we simply change our mindset, aim at this moonshot, and really deliver to make sure that India can get on to the 10% growth path.
An investor really wants to know that how can you position future capital, because investing is all about positioning your future capital so that you could benefit from future returns.
Go for people who believe in great ESG. Let everything else fall by the wayside. Trust only those who have environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and great governance deeply embedded in their hearts, whether it is governments, state governments, city governments, individual companies. Today, this whole idea of brushing a whole sector with one brush is over. You need to pick the winners based on who has at their heart the ability to change the world using ESG principles, using SDGs, using integrated reporting. That is really the companies that I would want to see flourish. And once that begins to happen, we will see an unstoppable race to the top. So it's no longer about sectors, it is about implementation.
एक मुद्दे की बात करते हैं शैलेश भाई, आप कहां पर इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं? Where are you investing?
I'm investing in digitalization in a big way. And I'm investing in healthcare in a big way. These are my top 2 picks today. Not as a public markets investor, but even as a private investor. These are the sectors that engage my attention.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Haribhakti. Stay safe and certainly hope to see much more of you going forward.
Thank you.
So ये था आज का हमारा शो शैलेश भाई के साथ खास बात.